welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry Beth, what episode is this?
98.
Today, we are talking about a topic that actually came from one of you.
Yep.
We had a comment on one of our recent podcasts over on YouTube, and the idea, as soon as I read it, I thought, we're doing that. Mm-hmm. And not like, oh, let's do that in a few weeks.
No, like we immediately started talking about it and making notes of what we want to say.
Because I just think that this is one of those topic ideas that we never would have thought of.
No, but I love it. I think it's a fun idea.
It is a fun idea. So I'm going to read you the comment. I think Alice is her name who left it. And basically what she said is an idea for a future podcast topic that would be fun to hear. Would you both be willing to tell the story of how you bought your house, your general approach to home improvement, and what improvements you hope to make, if any, to your house in the future? I know you've both said that you potentially like a smaller space, so how would that end up comparing to the places you've lived previously before you bought your current house? I just think that's such a fun story.
It is, yep.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about basically our home journey, the place we lived when we first got married, mm-hmm. the whole process of buying this place, why in the world we chose this place, mm-hmm. How long do we plan on staying here, what do we plan on change, just all of it.
All of the house things.
Yeah. And so at dinner tonight, we kind of sat down and just sort of talked about, okay, what are the things we want to talk about? Mm-hmm. And Sherry, we're going to start even before this house. Let's back up to when we were first married.
Yep.
Where was the Palacial Mansion that we lived?
Palacial Mansion is a bit of a stretch.
Maybe.
So when I moved up here to Alaska, you lived in a condo.
Yep.
Which I moved into.
Yep.
And so that was it was very small. It was a one bedroom. It's about 500 square feet, I think. And it was fine for what it was. And it served its purpose. It was just the two of us. We only needed one bedroom.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was, there's parts of me that still miss it. I mean, we haven't lived there for 15 years, but it was a fun place to start out our marriage.
Yeah, so it was a condo that my mom owned, mm-hmm. and basically just kind of, she had it and let me live there for essentially the cost of her mortgage, mm-hmm. Which was super generous, super great. And then when Sherry and I were getting married, it's like, well, the discussion happens about where we're going to live.
And I was living with a friend who was living with her parents. And so it was me and her parents.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so one of the, conversations is like, okay, where are we going to live? And the assumption was, well, what do we want to start with? Mm-hmm. Because there's a danger when you are a couple deciding your first home, like mm-hmm. where you're going to live. Because a lot of times you each have, you've grown up in your mom and dad's home, and you've experienced their quality of life. And so that's what you've been used to mm-hmm. in a lot of ways. And you sort of feel like you have to step from that into something similar.
Well, and, I think that we've all seen it with, young, we were early mid-20s when we got married. Yeah. We kind of see, this pressure, I think, to you have to immediately jump into the kind of lifestyle and the size of the house that you're, moving out of with your parents. But what you don't realize is that was not probably your parents' starter home.
Exactly.
That's, home 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever, how many times you moved. But it's not the house that they started in.
Yeah. And so for us, when we were thinking of homes, it was well, do we buy a house? Do we what do we do? Mm-hmm. And we sort of even backed it up a little bit and said, well, what do we want? Right? What do we want from the first part of our marriage? We knew we weren't going to buy our forever home right off the bat. And one of our values, we both had some debt at that point of our life. Mm-hmm. And one of our values was, wouldn't it be cool to start marriage debt-free? Mm-hmm. Neither of us come from money. Neither of us come from, you know what I mean?
Right. Neither of us had a nest egg or a trust fund or anything.
No, nothing. Nothing like that. Mom and dad weren't buying our first home. There was nothing like that.
Right.
And so we felt like for our first home, we could live so unbelievably cheap mm-hmm. in this condo my mom owned. I don't even remember how much rent was, how much she charged us.
I feel like it was I don't remember. I want to say it was around like 600.
No, I think that's actually right.
Right. Which for Alaska is nothing.
No, and 15 years ago even was still nothing.
Right.
And so she was unbelievably generous with us. And so we thought, well, gosh, if we're only paying that, then think of how much debt we could pay off, how much we could start to save, all of that.
Yep.
And when we got married and moved into the Palacial Mansion of 500 square feet, do you remember, did we know how long we would be there?
No, because honestly, our thought was we wanted to get completely out of debt. Mm-hmm. And save up enough for a decent down payment on a house. And so we didn't know really like how long that would take. I don't think we sat down and figured out exactly, but it ended up being about 2.5 years.
We were there for about 2.5 years?
Yep.
And then, so again, 1 bedroom, super small, but fine. Like, I genuinely look back on that time of our marriage with the best memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there were times that I was just like, like because, well, and for a little bit there, and honestly, part of the reason that we really wanted to start looking for a house was because your job changed and you started working from home, and so our living room / dining room / office / laundry room was too much. Like,
it was fine when it was just a place we both came back to after work and slept.
Yep.
But when it had to all of a sudden also be an office,
it was too much.
It was too much. And so that's really when we started to say maybe something a little bit bigger would be nice.
Something with another bedroom that we could make into an office.
And so that was our goal, was to look to buy a place that was 2 bedrooms. And we, fortunately, we were both working at the time. The job I had was well beyond what I should have had for my age and maturity. I'll say that.
And you were very good at it.
Thank you. And we start looking, we go to the bank, we get approved, and maybe this was just the case back then when banks just like threw money around. But I remember when we saw the number that they approved us for, we both kind of looked at each other like, that's not a real number.
We're not buying a house of that magnitude.
That's an adult number. We're barely adults. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we're still babies.
Yeah,
and
we're
you're giving us all of this money.
Yeah, you're gonna give us no. And so, but I remember us having the conversation and saying, okay, let's put that number aside.
Yep.
We don't want to come anywhere near what they approved us for.
Right.
Because for a few reasons, it was important to us that we didn't become house rich and cash poor. We really have never valued, I mean, I don't know, it sounds a weird time to say, but we've never really valued the house, like a house specifically.
No.
If a house was a hindrance to the life we want to live, we would choose the life over the house.
Right. And we did.
Yep. And so we start this process of saying, let's start looking for something, and I don't remember, was it like half of what we were approved for? Something like that.
I don't remember what the number was. I feel like we almost like figured out what we wanted to pay monthly and then multiplied that. Like,
yeah.
So it became like we don't want to pay any more than X amount monthly for a mortgage, and so whatever that comes out to as far as like the house, that's what we're looking for, and not a penny more.
And so we start looking at 2-bedroom places kind of around town. We didn't really want to look at single-family homes, and I know that sounds strange to some people.
We looked at some.
We knew, even from like before we were married, we knew that if we had the opportunity ever to travel a lot, we would take that, because that's a value for both of us.
Yep.
And the nice thing about a condo or a townhome with an HOA is that you can lock the door, walk away, and everything's taken care of.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, be back in weeks, bye.
Yeah.
And we really valued that. Whereas we felt like with single family home, it's a little bit different, right? You're having people come by and check up. You're having like somebody come by and plow the snow and mow the yard.
It also, honestly, it was a lot more expensive. It was the single family homes that we were looking at versus the same square footage in a townhome. You're paying for the yard, you're paying for, plus, you have to then pay for people to come keep it up. Because we're not going to do that. So
I actually don't feel like the townhomes we were looking at were cheaper than single family homes we were looking at.
I feel like there were a few that we looked at, but it was
not when you count like HOA stuff in there.
True. Yeah.
And so for us, it was just simply like, what house gives us the space we need and lets us live the life we lead.
Yep.
And we actually found a place that I don't know that we were in love with.
I don't think so. And I'm glad that it didn't work out.
Yep, it was in East Anchorage.
And it was 3 bedrooms. Which at first we were like, nah, we don't really want 3 bedrooms. We just want 2. And then we were like, well, it would be nice to have an office and a guest bedroom.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 is the way to go. And so we were just like, well, yeah, okay, let's start looking at 3s. We found this one in East Anchorage. And I liked it. Part of it, I think, was like, I was still just very unsure because that price tag was still...
place still felt...
It was in our price range, but it was still just a lot of money.
Yep.
And it's hard to, like, sign your name to, like, that amount of money. And so I think that me being, like, always wanting to look 10 steps ahead, I was just like, ugh, this is just a lot of money to, like, tie ourselves to.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really in love with the place. I was like, I like it. And I was excited to, like, have our own place.
And I remember even a conversation about, yes, like, it's not perfect. It doesn't check every box.
But it's our first home.
It's our first. It's our starter.
It's not going to check every box. It's going to be fine.
That's exactly right. This is, like, step number 1 in many steps.
Yep.
And so we put in an offer. And we got...
Initially, it was accepted.
And like our realtor was like, I see no problems. Like, you guys were approved for way more. You've got the down payment. You've got, like, everything was great. And then something happened. It was something along the lines of, we had, like, a first time home buyer loan.
And this HOA could only have so many.
Yeah.
And we were going to put them over that number. And so they chose to not accept our offer because we were doing the first time home buyer.
Yep. And so it was a little bit of a gut punch, just because we were, again, after having the offer accepted, we thought, well, this is it. It's our home.
Like, we had started packing.
Yes.
Like, it was accepted. We had a closing date. We were moving along. And they're like, just kidding.
So this falls through, discouraging. And then, do you remember when our realtor called us?
I think, honestly, it was the same conversation. Because
day?
I think... Yes, because so he was our realtor, and he called to let us know that this fell through, and why. And he was like, "But I do have this other place that's also 3 bedrooms, also a townhouse, on your side of town. It's about less than a mile
from where we currently live,
from our condo."
Yep.
And he said it's not currently in your price range, but the lady that lives there is dropping it into your price range because she has an adjustable rate mortgage. And she needs out.
She was dropping it in the next day or something.
Yeah, the next day. He said it's going to drop into your price range tomorrow. If you want to go look at it tonight, we can do that.
So what happened was he represented her.
Yep.
And she had an adjustable rate mortgage that was going to adjust up in a matter of months. And she was this is at least how I understood it. And she was starting to get really scared that if she hadn't sold it by the time her mortgage adjusted, that rate adjusted, she couldn't afford it, and she could potentially, in her mind, go into foreclosure and lose it.
Right.
And so it was worth it to her to sell it for less, but get rid of it before her rate adjusted.
Yes.
And so our realtor tells us that tomorrow it's going to be in your price range, and do you want to go see it tonight?
And so we are also still kind of like, but it's not the house we wanted. Like, we had our heart set on this one, and we had it all figured out. And we were, and like, I was not excited to come see this house.
No, and it was a little bit like,
fine.
We just got in the gut punch, and it was like, okay, we'll go look at it. I mean, we liked that it was on our side of town, and so we meet our realtor over here, and it's a 2-story townhome. Great. We walk in. And our place is a little bit unique, and maybe you've seen this on videos. It's fun when we've had friends come and stay with us who, like, watch our videos because they're like, it's so different than I expected.
Right, yeah. So it's a split level.
Yep.
So you walk in and you have to immediately go down or up. So we started going downstairs, and there's, like, the kitchen and the dining room, and 2 of the 3 bedrooms and a full bathroom.
And the laundry room.
And the laundry. And I actually, so it's funny, this is an aside. One of the things that I was just like, about this place, was in our first place. The laundry was upstairs, right by all the bedrooms. And I just remember thinking that's so smart. I had never actually seen that.
In the place that we had put an offer on and lost.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I was really excited about that because I was like, all of your clothing, all of your bedding, you just take out into the hall and you don't have to haul them up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
With the laundry down here, like here in our house now, it is downstairs and it's just like,
yeah.
I don't want to have to haul the laundry, but fine. And I don't know. So there's 2 bedrooms downstairs, and I was just like, this is weird. So then, like, the master bedroom's upstairs, like
with
why?
The living room.
With the living room, I don't like that. That's weird.
And some of it was. It's funny you say this because I'm remembering now. Like some of it was probably us just being like pissy.
Yeah.
From
100%.
Getting bad news earlier in the day, and then coming in here, and it was almost like when your best friend loses a girlfriend, you instantly hate the next girlfriend.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's kind of how we felt. It's like, this was just like, I don't even like her. You know what I mean? Like, who is she?
Absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. That's what it was. And so we were just like, ugh, whatever. And so then we kind of like tromp upstairs. And first of all, they had those really ugly, awful, like plastic
vertical blinds
that like clang together. It's terrible.
On
every window.
And just so you know, we're going to tell you about
We'll talk about things.
We'll talk about what the place looked like because we have made some changes.
Right. But all of those were pushed open.
Yep.
And
upstairs.
And so we walk upstairs and I was like, oh, yep, put in the offer.
Because it was still light out.
Uh-huh.
Was it sunset-y? It was like...
It was March-ish. And
okay.
so I think that it was fairly early evening. And so I think that it was maybe around sunset when we were here.
And
4 or 5,
we walked upstairs, the blinds are open, and we just see the mountains.
Yep. Straight shot to the mountains. And I was like, yes.
I remember...
This is what I want to see.
That's what I remember. I remember Sherry saying, that's the view I want to drink my coffee to.
Yep.
And it was so interesting because, like, part of the things that's like, okay, let's say we would have gone to the top of our price range, what we could have, like, been approved for. Mm-hmm. You know, we would have started having things like, we want a view, we want, you know what I mean?
If we're going to pay this much for a house, it's going to check every one of these boxes.
Right. And so there's some boxes that we just assumed wouldn't check.
Right.
And, like, a view of the mountains was one we didn't think we'd get.
Right.
And when we walked upstairs and we saw that, it was just like, I could just stand here and just stare at this.
This is what I want.
This is what I want.
Yep.
And so as soon as we saw the view, even though we weren't stoked about the house initially, like a lot of the other stuff, the view was the thing we wanted.
The view and the size of the living room.
So our living room is really big.
It's a very big living room, and it has this beautiful stone fireplace.
Yep.
And I was sold.
Yep. We just pictured evenings with wine and friends and coffee mornings and just so much.
Yep. So that's what, yeah. So we put the offer in. We talked to a realtor that night, and I mean, he was here obviously. And so we were just like, yep, go ahead and put in the offer first thing tomorrow morning. And he said, okay.
Yep. So it
was accepted.
Yeah. So as soon as the price dropped, like we basically he had already written up the offer that as soon as she had dropped the price.
For the price that she was asking.
That's right. And so we, and so we put in the offer, obviously do all the inspections, all that kind of stuff. And we were approved. Got it.
Yep.
Now let's talk about what this place was like before, because when we first walked in, some of you will be able to picture some of these things we say and you will just start laughing.
Yeah.
All of the closets in all of the guest rooms. First of all, whoever lived here before us, big fan of the color gold.
Big fan of the gold. Yeah. So she had done some like sprucing up. I think all of the walls had been like freshly painted this white, just kind of neutral white. Brand new Berber carpets throughout. Brand new stove. Like we actually had to like peel the plastic off.
Yep.
So like there had been some upgrades that we didn't have to do, which was great.
All of the closets, gold mirrored sliding doors.
Yep.
Gold mirrored sliding doors. Wow.
Those did not last long.
No, those all came out.
Those all came out before we moved in.
Yes.
because I was like, I am not sleeping in a room where one entire wall is
mirrors, gold, and
nope.
all of the like lighting fixtures.
Every single light fixture was gold.
Gold and like frosted glass.
And
is
like
that right?
Frosted. Yep. Every last one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Including the entrance light, which was a pain in the ass to change, because it's like 15 feet. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, at the time, I was working for, the company that I just previously stopped working for this year, and they're electricians, and so I actually was like, hey guys, if one of y'all could come over and change out a light for me, and they did. It was great.
And so lots of things that were just cosmetic though.
100% cosmetic, because we painted almost every wall.
The nice thing for us is that our HOA dues here basically, and I don't think this is the same everywhere, maybe it is, we are only responsible for walls in. They're responsible. Yep. They're responsible for walls out. Mm-hmm. So for us, anything cosmetic inside is our responsibility. Everything outside. So roof issue, HOA pays. Yep. Hot water heater, boiler, HOA pays.
Pipes bursting
in the wall, mm-hmm. HOA pays. If that affects stuff in our unit, HOA pays.
Yep.
Like, it actually is pretty great.
Yep.
And so all of the stuff that we had to deal with was cosmetic. And cosmetic stuff for us was doable.
Yep. And fun.
And fun. So our kitchen,
we had a painting party.
We did have a painting party. So our kitchen, which is now red walls, white cabinets, mm-hmm. was white walls, dark brown cabinets.
Dark brown cabinets.
Lots of primer.
Oh, yeah. I think it was 2 or 3 coats of thick primer and then 2 or 3 coats of white to make it look white.
Yeah, it was brutal. And so it just like as soon as we had the keys, we started attacking cosmetic stuff.
Yep.
We had friends over. We were here late into the evenings, mm-hmm. and I got to tell you, I understand why. You know, when you hear like old couples talking about like, oh, the good old days. The good old days were always like pretty shitty. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, remember when we were poor and we only owned like 2 sticks and a rock? And they like tell these amazing stories. Uh-huh. When I think about like us, I am so thankful that we had that experience, and it wasn't just like, oh, just hire a contractor and do it all. I loved the late nights that we would like go pick up pizza at 11:30 p.m. because we had been painting for so many hours, forgotten to eat, we're exhausted, mm-hmm. and we just needed food.
Yep. And you know, I mean, so the way that our house is set up, because it is split level, we brought a boom box.
Yes, we did. Because we did bring an actual boom box.
And we set it at the top of the stairs, and we would listen to CDs.
You're darn right we would.
Yeah, we would. And it would go throughout the whole house because it would filter down the stairs and then be upstairs too. And so it was, you know, and it's 1,100 square feet. It's not like this massive mansion. And so Palacial Mansion. And so it was, those days to me were a lot of fun. They were really hard because we were also still working full time.
That's right.
And so we were working full time, and then in the evenings we'd come over here and we'd paint or whatever, change out light fixtures, but
cabinet doors.
So before we actually moved in, we did all of the cosmetic.
Yep.
And then do you want to talk about the day we moved in?
I'm so glad you said that because this wasn't in our notes, and I thought earlier in the podcast, I was like, oh God, I can't forget this.
We need to bring this up. So the day before we moved in, I was at work, and the office was actually based in the owner's home. Yep. Like in their basement. They had a big walkout basement, and they lived on the hillside. Yep. And so it was always snowier up there than here in town. But
what year was this?
2008.
Okay, because I'm Googling the
April
news.
April 25th.
I'm Googling the news story of this because I know this was ridiculous.
Yes, and so I just remember being at work and watching the snow fall. I feel like we got 3 feet of snow.
It was what day?
April 25th, I think, is when the snowstorm was. I think we moved in on the 26th. So I just remember thinking, there's so much snow and we're moving tomorrow.
And we had a U-Haul.
And we already had rented the U-Haul. We had already gotten a whole bunch of friends to, like, help us. And so we couldn't, like, move the day. Like, this was it. Like, snow or not, we're moving.
Yep. So we received almost 20 inches of snow in Anchorage that day.
It was a ridiculous... Okay, so...
A snowfall record in Anchorage on that day. We have a U-Haul.
The end of April, y'all. I mean, it's not like we were expecting to move in January. It was the end of April.
Snow should have been gone.
Yes.
And so our friends who were like, we have had the most amazing community, came over and still helped us all.
Yep.
But what a nightmare.
What a nightmare. And we do have to mention our house sits on a very steep hill. And so, like, so we had people coming in both sides of our house because they would pull the U-Haul up to, like, the carport and be emptying that kind of stuff. But then there were also people parked along the street, and there's this huge hill.
Yep.
A very steep hill. I can't even tell you how many times I just fell down this hill.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as we're trying to move. Because there's one door on the other side of the house. And so it's like, if you want to be semi-productive and be moving things in both doors, you had to tromp up this hill and fall back down it.
Yeah, tromp up the grass. But
with 2 feet of snow.
But here's the thing. We did it.
We did it.
But I remember the stairs being so soggy.
My gosh.
Because there's no way you come to a point when it's like, you know what? Just load everything in and we will figure it out.
We'll shampoo the carpets when everybody's done. Because,
exactly.
Again, and I mean, it did start to melt, which was also almost worse because it was then
slushy.
Slushy.
Yeah.
And so wet. And it was comical. And I remember even thinking halfway through the day, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. We didn't even bother having people take off their shoes because, like, you're carrying couches in and whatever. Like, we're not going to make people stop in that tiny, tiny little entrance and take off their shoes to tromp up the carpeted stairs. Yeah. Like, no, it doesn't matter. We will vacuum. We will shampoo. It's fine.
So we get everything moved in. It's all great. We get settled. Now, Sherry, let's talk about, we've been here for how many years?
15 and a half.
That's crazy. And what do you still like about? Do you still like this place? What is it you still like? A purchase you are glad we made?
I am very glad. I did not expect to be here for 15 years. Because, again, we didn't expect this to be like a forever home. And I don't think I still do. I mean, I don't think that this won't be our forever home. But I don't, like, we don't have any plans to move. And I'm perfectly happy here. It's, I do feel like even when we moved in, I just remember thinking, like, still the bedroom split is weird. Like, it's weird having the 2 bedrooms downstairs and then the master bedroom upstairs with the living room. But the first time we had guests stay overnight, I was just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Because our bedroom is on the west side of the house. The other 2 are on the east side of the house on opposite floors. And when you're downstairs, you kind of have your own space. You have your own bathroom. The kitchen's right there. So guests can kind of have their own space and not be in ours.
Yeah, they can get up, they can make coffee, they can, like, you know what I mean, have snacks, they can hang out and not feel like they have to, like, tiptoe around so they don't wake us up.
Yeah.
And that really did
and
work.
Vice versa. Like, we can get up and use our bathroom and whatever and not feel like we are, like, waking our guests.
Yeah, so we did quickly realize that, actually, this layout, while initially weird, worked out pretty great.
Yep.
There are some things that I still love. I gotta tell you, I never get sick of that view.
I have never once been like, ugh. I took a picture of it today.
It's funny. I was literally just going to say that.
I can't even tell you how many pictures of the same damn thing I have in my phone.
This week, alone, I think we have just been like blown away by the sunset, the sunrise.
The sunrise, yeah.
Multiple times.
Because the sun is rising at like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and so it's been gorgeous.
Yeah.
And
fire.
The other thing I love is that our bedroom is on the east side of the building. It's on the west side of the building. And so there is this window during the summer when the sun shines right in our bedroom window and just covers our entire bed in sunlight. And
And Adam and Missy love that.
Laying in the bed in the sun and taking a nap is the greatest.
It's pretty awesome. It's not awesome at 10:45, 11:45 at night when you're trying to sleep and the sun is directly in your eyeballs.
Yeah,
I
actually still think that's pretty awesome. I'm going to be honest.
Because you can sleep through anything.
Yep.
It's less awesome for me, which is why we have multiple room darkening blinds and shades in our bedroom, so that we can block it out. But I do love our place. There are still things that I would like to change.
So what are those? Like when you think about home, like remodeling or improvement projects, what does the list look like?
Well, it's funny because some of these things we have talked about wanting to do since we moved in, and it just hasn't happened.
Yep.
We would like to replace all of the interior doors.
Yeah.
In our house. All of the bedroom doors, all the bathroom doors.
Yep.
We did replace the closet doors.
Got rid of the sliding gold mirrors.
Yeah, real quick. Again, before we moved in. So, yeah. Those are replaced, but I would love to replace all of our inner doors.
And honestly, even all of the closet doors are probably due for a replacement.
Because it's been 15 years.
Well, it's been 15 years, and one of the things about Anchorage, earthquakes.
Yep.
This place that our HOA was built in the 1970s, and so there's been lots of earthquake, lots of shifting, lots of all that, and so I feel like we could use all doors replaced.
Yeah, because things have shifted and the doors don't really fit great.
Yep.
None of them do. We actually just took the doors out in our bedroom and put a curtain rod. Yep. Because we were just tired of the doors. It was just crooked, and because it shifts all the time.
The other thing I would love to do that we've talked about, so in our downstairs bathroom is a full tub, and it was a tub that probably is original to the house.
Oh, I'm sure, because it's that beautiful, avocado puke yellow.
Yellowish, greenish. It's not like a natural hue. And
the toilet and the sink did match, and we quickly replaced those, but it was just a lot more expensive and out of our budget to replace the tub at the time.
But they do have that, there's tub refinishing companies, because there's nothing wrong with the tub. I don't care about that.
Right.
But just to change the color.
Yeah.
And so I would love to do that. What else, Sherry?
The countertops in the kitchen.
Yeah, this is one I'd love to do.
They're white, which looks nice-ish if you can keep them clean.
Well, they're just white. What is that? Just like linoleum?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the cheap whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would like to replace the countertops in our kitchen.
Yep. I think that would actually make a really big difference.
I think so too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to do that. We eventually would like to replace the carpet throughout.
Yeah, because it was brand new when we moved in, but it has been 15 years, and we can only shampoo it so many times. There's now 15 years of tracking in snow slush, and
there's a giant blue stain.
And there's a giant blue stain. What's that from, Adam?
We're not going to talk about that. And so those are some of the big ones I think for us.
Some of the things
I was going to say in the living room, we have some bigger dreams.
We have bigger our living room is kind of weird. It has this weird alcove kind of thing that our TV actually fits in quite well. But I would like to enclose that and make a closet. Because the only closets in our house are in the bedrooms. So we have no front closet or coat closet or
utility
whatever.
Closet.
None of that.
And so even places like storing a vacuum or storing cleaning supplies or hanging up coats or all of that kind of stuff. We don't have a space for that. So you have wanted to have that done.
Yep, for a while. It's just expensive. I mean, it's a whole kind of construction thing. And part of the problem is it's not just enclosing it. It's probably original to the house is the central vac.
Dope.
And that is in the wall that we would like to actually make the door side. So that would have to come out. The thermostat is on that wall as well. So there's just, electrical kind of stuff that would need to be moved, and it's not just enclosing this space.
And here's the other
electrical
thing.
And
we have some friends, they're like, this is the kind of thing they tackle themselves.
We are not those people.
We are not those friends.
No.
We are the kind of friends that are like, you know what? We will pay for this to be done.
Absolutely. And I will paint it.
Yeah. That's right. You frame it in, you sheetrock, you tape it, you paint, like that kind of stuff. Like, we'll do all the finishing stuff.
I'll do all the finishing. That's fine. But also, once we do that, I have drawn it out. Mm-hmm. I have measured it out, and I have a elevation drawing of it, thanks to my college days. And we would like to do built-in bookshelves.
In our living room.
In our living room along that whole wall.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of books that we have, and I just think it would be really pretty to have built-ins right there. And we have, the way that I drew it, there would be a space for a TV as well. So our TV would just be mounted on the wall instead of on a TV console kind of thing that it's on now. So yeah, those are kind of bigger dreams. I don't know when or if that will happen.
Yeah, the nice thing about the living room, because it is so large, we feel like we could give up some space by building in that closet, losing that little alcove, and then doing built-ins, which would take away some floor space. But the living room is big enough that it would still feel big, and I think adding those would really help.
Yep, I agree.
So that's long-term. Will that ever happen? I don't know.
Honestly, like, we kind of, once I drew it out a few years ago, we kind of priced what lumber would cost, and it was right during / after COVID, and supply chains were trash, and so the cost of getting lumber here was astronomical.
Yeah, and so we're like, yeah, we're gonna put that on the back burner for a few years.
This is not that big of a priority.
So we'll revisit it in the future.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, no other major. I would eventually like to, depending on how long we think we might be here. I eventually would like to replace all the windows. We have sliding glass doors downstairs and upstairs.
I would like to do French doors.
I'd love to do French doors on both of those. I just think that would be really pretty. And just things like that.
Yep.
But other than that, nothing super major.
No, not really. Cosmetic, really. There's a lot of cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
That we would still just sort of like to change. And honestly, we talked about this. So once we painted, the only room that we have repainted since we initially painted 15 years ago is the studio.
I thought we repainted this room.
This is the studio.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a moron. Hi, I'm Adam. The guest room, I meant. Did we not repaint the guest room?
No, we waited to paint the guest room until after we moved in. We didn't have any furniture for it, so we were just like, we'll just wait. But no, I painted partway up the wall with purple and then that gray stripe.
That's what it was. That's right.
Yep. So when we moved in, the guest room was not painted.
So what do you think about how long we might be here? What do you think about if we move out of here, we finally going to buy the big fancy forever home? What do you think?
I think that if we move, we're either probably moving out of state or we're moving into something smaller.
Yeah.
Probably either way, we're moving into something smaller.
Yep.
We have kind of realized we don't need this much space, and if we have this much space, we just fill it with crap.
Yep.
That we don't need. And then we're kind of in this constant state of decluttering. It was really funny when we first moved in because we did come from this 500 square foot condo. And so all of in pretty small rooms, and all of the furniture that we moved in here with, I remember putting it in place and being like, we look like college students.
Yeah,
we
it
look
was
like
so
we
empty.
have no furniture because of the size of the rooms that are here and just our lack of furniture. We were filling twice the space with very small furniture, and we were like, we need to fix this.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing.
It was really funny, but we have since very much filled the space. So
yeah, I think that. So for me, again, this goes back to the quality of life thing. It's like, what do we need to live the life we want? And ultimately, I want to have no mortgage. I just think about like take it for most of you out there who have a mortgage, which I think is most people. If you had no monthly housing payment, whether that's rent, whether that's mortgage, whatever that is, think about how that would impact the kind of life you could live.
Yep.
And I just think about that a lot. It's like that really is the goal. And And so for me, whether it's here for a few more years and mortgage paid off, or whether it's, sell this place and pay something else off or go smaller or whatever that is, the ultimate goal is no monthly payment for housing.
Yep. We just don't like having monthly payments for stuff. Like we both have pretty old vehicles that are completely paid off and have been for years because we don't want a car payment.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like right now we're having some heater issues with the Jeep and I'm just like, I should just go buy a new vehicle. And then I'm just like, I think about a monthly car payment. I'm like, no.
Or we can just fix the heater on the Jeep.
That's the thing. I'm like, absolutely not. That's dumb.
Because I don't want another car payment. I would rather drive a beat up 2009 Nissan Versa that's paid off
completely. Yeah.
Because I don't want a car payment.
Yep. And so I think for us, I could see us staying here, exactly what you said, Sherry, until we leave Alaska, whether that's 5 years from now or 25 years from now, and just kind of continuing to call this home, make changes as we go and as money allows and that kind of stuff. And then moving into something smaller. I don't know that I ever see us living in like a single family home.
I don't think so, honestly, because of the upkeep for it. I think that the freedom that we have to just take off is worth the dues that we pay.
Yeah, I think so too.
We do have people come in and check in on our cat, but
she'll be gone any day now.
Oh my God, stop.
Sorry.
But making sure, we never have to shovel our snow. We never have to plow our driveway. We never have to mow our grass. We never have to, repaint the outside of the building. We never, it's just, all of that is just taken care of. And there's just a peace of mind knowing that that's all taken care of, that, we can leave in the winter and not worry about a massive snowstorm coming through and then not being able to get into our driveway to get home because it's plowed already and we don't have to worry about it. I don't know. It's just, there's a peace of mind that you pay for, I think, with dues, and I am willing to pay that. Yeah, me too. And I like, I just think like smaller space sounds nice, which is, it's so weird because I feel like everybody else is going the opposite direction. Yeah, well, and I think it's expected. Like you move up, but we want to move down. I know. There's a lot of times that we're just like, it's like I haven't gone into the guest room in like a month. Right. Why do we have the guest room? Why do we have the guest room? Why don't we? I honestly feel like we could handle a 2-bedroom place and have a Murphy bed or something that we can fold up and still have a YouTube studio. Be able to film our videos and stuff, but then turn it into a guest bedroom easily. Yep. I don't feel like we need 2 different spaces for that because we just don't use it. Yep. So there's our house story, everybody. Yeah. From our Palacial Mansion we lived in at first, 500 square feet, where, my gosh, those really were the good old days. Honestly, yeah. You know what's funny though? I remember this. One of the things that when we moved into this place that I was like, oh my God, we are living luxury. Our old place had the electric coil burner stove, I think. Yeah. This place, our home now has a gas range. If possible, I will never not have a gas stove again. No, never. So we did have the coil, but I think that we actually replaced it with the flat top. Oh, it was the flat top. That's right. We did. And we did have the flat top. And when I first moved in here, I remember thinking, you can't tell when it's hot. Because it had the little light on our flat top that would tell us when the stove was still hot, which is great for morons like me that will just randomly put things on the stovetop. But it was... I don't know. I will never not have a gas stove. Oh, man. It's so nice. It's so nice. It's so nice. So there we go, friends. I hope we answered all of your questions. Thank you again to our listener who suggested this podcast idea. It was fun to kind of rehearse all of this stuff. Reminisce. I reminisce. I do really remember. I remember that first time we walked into this place just being so pissy from that day. And then we really were. And then walking upstairs and seeing the view and just thinking like, that's what I want. This is what we want. Yeah. Here we are. That view sold the entire thing. And there's never a time that I don't like the view.
Oh my gosh. It's the best.
It's just beautiful.
Friends, we love you guys so much. And we'll see you on the next LeggLife podcast.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.